Welcome to this lesson. In this lesson, we are going to look at addition and subtraction of fractions. Our main objectives are to first reduce fractions and also add and subtract fractions. First, to reduce fractions, it means we have to represent fractions in simple form, either least or the simplest form. Means you have to reduce fractions. We can reduce fractions by dividing both the numerator and denominator of the fractions by a common factor. So we have to get a common factor which can divide both the numerator and the denominator. So always the factor you get should be able to divide the numerator as well as the denominator. So the result that we will get will be the reduced fraction, and it will be equivalent to the main fraction. Let's consider an example. We have 8/16. So we can see that the common factor for 8 and 16 will be 8. So we use the 8 to divide both the numerator and the denominator. So when 8 cancels itself, which is the numerator, you are going to get 1. When 8 cancels the denominator, which is 16, we will get 2. So we can say that 8/16 is equal to 1/2. It has been reduced. Therefore, 8/16 is equivalent to 1/2. So to reduce fractions, you need to find a common factor which can divide both the numerator and the denominator, meaning that factor should be able to divide the number at the top at the same time the down. Now let's look at how to add and subtract fractions. There are simple steps that we should take. First, to add or subtract fractions, we need to look at all base fractions and change them into improper fractions. What we have to do after that is to find the LCM, which is the least common multiples of the denominators of the fraction. So you look for the denominators, then you find the LCM, which is the least common multiples. You can list the multiples of all of them, then you pick the one which is common and also list. So the best way is to list the multiples of the denominators and pick the one which is common, meaning the one which is at both sides, and it is the least. That will be the LCM. After we have done that, we divide the denominators by the LCM. Then we multiply the result by the numerators. Then you finally simplify the fraction to get the addition and the subtraction. So to add or subtract fractions, it should be in the same form. So we change all mixed fractions into improper fraction. Then you find LCM. Then use the LCM to divide the denominators. Then you multiply by the numerators. Then you simplify. Okay, let us consider an example. So this example will help us to be able to add and subtract fractions. So you have been given to simplify 3 whole number 1/4 plus 4 whole number 2 over 3 minus 1 over 2. So we check all the mixed fractions, then we change them into improper fractions. So the mixed fractions are 3 whole number 1 over 4 and 4 whole number 2 over 3. So changing them, 4 times 3 plus 1 over 4 will give us 13 over 4. Then come to the next one, 3 times 4 plus 2 over 3 will give you 14 over 3. Then we add minus 1 over 2. So we now look for denominators. They are 4, 3, and 2. So LCM of 4, 3, and 2 will give us 12. So list all the multiples of 4, multiples of 3, multiples of 2. The one which is common to both sides, the one which we can find at multiples of 4, the one that we can find multiples of 3, the one that we can find at multiples of 2. And that same thing is also least or common. We pick it to be the LCM. So now, having gotten the LCM to be 12, we use the first denominator, which is 4. Then it will be 12 divided by 4 to give us 3. That 3 times 13, as we have here, 3 times 13. Then 12 divided by 3 here, it will give us 4. That 4 times 14, as we have 4 times 14 here. Then 12 divided by 2 will give us 6. So that's 6 times 1. So minus 6 times 1. So we get 3 times 13 will get 39. Then 4 times 14 will give us 56. Then 6 times 1 will give us minus 6. It's all over 12. Don't forget the 12. So when we now have to add, so 39 plus 56 minus 6 will give us 89 over 12. 89 over 12. So we now have to reduce it. 89. So we look at how many times can 12 go into 89. So whatever I will get, then write it. So it's 7 times. To go is 7 times. That's why we have 7 whole number. So then you find the remainder. The remainder will be because to be 7 times 12 is 84. So the remainder will be 5. Remainder will be 5 over 12. Will be 5 over 12. Good. So we can learn more and make sure we understand.